I mean, you saw what happened with Migos and Button and what's it called? And Ack, right?
Yeah.
Where like there was a little beef or something. I'm not exactly sure what happened, the situation.
Well, Joe has been critical of Lil Yachty. Lil Yachty is signed to Quality Control.
Okay.
Which is the label that the Migos are on. And, Joe has said things. Joe said things like he don't think the other two members of the Migos are as talented as Quavo, so they're going to break up. I get it. I mean, but
to fight is the most peculiar thing.
I don't think it. Listen, I don't think it always leads to fights. Like for me, I always give my opinion to people.
Yeah.
People come into the studio, we have a conversation about it. No matter, regardless of how aggressive it gets.
Yeah.
It's all about the approach, right? Mm-hmm. Joe could have had that same conversation with the Migos. Now, do the Migos give great interviews? Absolutely not. I don't think the Migos should give interviews at all. I think that it's a lot of artists from this generation.
Talk with your music.
Exactly. Yeah. Young Thug doesn't give interviews. You don't really see J. Cole. You don't see Kendrick. You don't see The Weeknd do interviews. The Migos are one of those groups that don't have to do interviews. They make good music. People fuck with it. You don't have to do interviews.
They're like Minions. It's a funny movie, but you don't want to have a conversation.
Exactly.
With them.
And it's a waste. It's literally a waste of everybody's time. So I understand Joe's frustration. I totally understand Joe's frustration on that end. But the same things you have said to the Migos when they sit down with you, I mean, when you same thing you have said about them,
you gotta say it.
You should say to them. Mm-hmm. Maybe that'll spark the conversation. Maybe that'll be the one that get them going.
Yeah,
like you know what I'm saying. And I just listen, man. I'm first of all, whenever I talk about Joe Budden, for whatever reason, everybody's like, "Oh, he's hating." I can talk about anybody in this fucking world. I gave Donkey the Day to Kodak Black this morning. I've been clowning him all morning. But as soon as I talk about Joe, it's personal. Like Joe's my guy. In the same conversation I'm having now, I would have with Joe and will have with Joe. You know how me and Joe get down.
Yeah.
My thing is this: I'm a player in this league. I love the league. I love players like Jesus Samaro. I love Nori. I love, Taxstone before he got injured. I love freaking, I love what Everyday Struggle is doing. So I like watching it. But I see a lot of flaws in the game. And that's just my thing. Like, Joe should have had that conversation with the Migos. Like, dropping the mic and shit is cool and entertaining, but it's better when you're... Imagine if Kanye would have came in and when I first said whatever to Kanye, and Kanye was like... Because Kanye did turn his back on me at first when I told him his album was whack. He was like, yeah, whatever. And what if I'd have just walked out?
Corny.
Then you don't get a great interview. Yeah. Have the conversation. Yeah. Like, you don't just drop the mic and walk out. Academics...
Yeah, that's interesting. No,
I don't. And then it's a lot of holes in the story. I don't know if y'all heard Joe Budden.
Yeah, break the whole thing down because
Joe Budden explained it. I talked to my man P from Quality Control this week. Salute to P. But basically, what happened was P approached Joe Budden in the mall. You know what I'm saying? Told him to stop talking about Lil Yachty. I guess Joe agreed to not talk about Lil Yachty no more. Then when they sat down to interview with the Migos, P interrupted the interview to reiterate that point. Right? So he
was trying to emasculate him, basically.
Basically. Right? I mean, I can only assume that because they edited that part of the interview out. And my thing is why?
That shit is so corny to me.
That's why,
because you play Ack. You played Ack in the smash cut that you put together. Complex played Ack in the smash cut last time when he was getting bullied.
You don't need help playing Ack.
Well, I already gonna kind of whatever. So, but the point is, you play Ack twice and then you save Joe. It's just a weird thing.
I'm a player in the league. I don't like that, and the reason I don't like that is because I don't do that. Like. Yeah. I don't edit anything that got to do with me.
Yeah.
I could have easily edited Fredro Starr. I could have easily edited Beanie Siegel.
Yeah.
I could have easily edited Master P.
Yeah.
We didn't have to put Birdman out. I could have easily edited all that shit when somebody getting at me. We don't do none of our interviews live.
Right.
But I don't. You know why? Because if I'm going to say what I want to say about people, I got to allow people to be able to say what they want about me. But the difference between me and a lot of other people is I'm going to still stick to my guns. Beanie Siegel going to point at me and tell me I'm pussy and all this and that. Yeah, cool, but I still think that you're an opportunist. You know what I'm saying? I think your loyalty lies with where, who's giving you an opportunity at the time. I'm still going to stand my shit. I don't like that dropping the mic and walking off. Like, that's not dope to me, especially if the very next day...
Though?
They don't got to fight, but just at least say what you got to say. And especially the very next day, if you on Everyday Struggle saying, I don't give a fuck about the Migos. You know what I'm saying?
So don't give a fuck right there.
Yeah, tell them that.
That's what I'm saying.
He called them arrogant. He called them arrogant asses. Why you ain't tell him that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just different, man. So, salute to everybody out here doing their thing in the league, but I'm just different. So when I see people, and I can't expect people to move the way that I move, but I just don't. I personally don't respect it. I'm like, that shit's whack, bro. Number one, if that man interrupted that interview and said something to you in some way, keep that shit in. Yes. Number two, don't come on Everyday Struggle the next day and call them Migos arrogant asses. You know what I'm saying? You should have said that to them. Say it to them. That's all I'm saying.
It's just an odd thing that they'd be willing. I find it odd for the Migos to have this much success, be arguably the biggest rap group in the world, one of the biggest groups in music, period, and you'd be willing to throw away your freedom over an opinion on you and your music. It is incredibly peculiar to me. I don't understand it. I don't understand where this comes from.
They can fight Joe.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
No, but let's say you fight Joe.
Yeah. Little kerfuffle.
It's a little kerfuffle. Let's say you have a little
give him some more fans.
By the way, can Offset get some props, man? I don't think y'all understand. First of all, the Migos is a family.
I love that.
Oh my God.
It's beautiful.
They literally stood up in the order that their solo albums will probably come out. Offset, Takeoff stood up first.
Yep.
Then Offset. Quavo stood up first. That's the first album he won. Then Offset.
Yeah.
Then Takeoff.
Yeah,
I was like, wow. Like they literally did it 1, 2, 3. And then the way Offset just calmly started
roll
to
up his
sleeves.
Oh,
I was like, he was getting ready for the kerfuffle.
There was about to be a kerfuffle.
It was about to be a goddamn.
He didn't want to lose a cufflink in the kerfuffle.
Oh my God!
When you told me in the truck, you was like, "Oh, they had a fight with Joe Budden." I was like, waiting to see this shit.
Well, that was the first rumor that came out.
And then they almost fought with
Chris Brown.
Well, why? For what's her name?
For Carucci.
That's the other thing too. And I want.
Nice.
I don't invite shit. Meaning that. I'm not on this. You don't never hear me on the radio or on the podcast saying, I want this drama, bring this energy my way. I can't wait to slap the shit out of one of you motherfuckers, which I've heard Joe say, bro, the Migos flexed on you.
Yeah. Now it's up to you to back it up.
I didn't see all that in that video. I actually saw you with your hands like, all right, everybody cool out.
I saw the girl protect him. That girl's an MVP. Bro, that girl's security. She's a host. What is that girl's name?
Pretty Toes.
What's it? Pretty Toes? I don't know her name. Whatever that girl's name is, yo, she protected him so quick. And even Ack got up and he was trying to pacify the situation. But that girl stood right between Joe.
I knew that something was about to happen.
Bro, no.
Right between Joe and the Migos. That shit was hilarious.
Academics looked terrified.
Terrible.
Yes,
Ack gotta pray for Ack, man. And y'all have heard me have these conversations with Ack. Ack, if you're not built like that, stop talking like that.
Bro. It's one thing to be slapped by a guy who's from Southside Chicago. It's another thing to be beat up by an Aerosmith covers band. That's what the fuck the Migos were dressed as that night. It was absolutely crazy. So you can't get beat up with dudes in blouses. That's a wild situation, bro.
At least with Joe,
can't, bro.
At least with Joe,
dick and shoes.
We've known Joe has been in fist fights before.
Joe looks like he could fight. I'm not gonna lie.
Ack looked terrified.
Yeah,
the look of terror on Ack's face is how I felt after I saw that NRA video. I was like Ack looked like in that moment he didn't know what the fuck was about to happen. And I'm telling you, man. I just listen, I pray for everybody involved in these situations. All I'm telling everybody is out there, everybody needs to have that same energy at all times. Don't talk about people after they're gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you felt that way, the guys didn't dap you up, and then they sat down. So if you felt like they were arrogant asses, you should have said that to them right then and there.
Let me ask you a question.
And don't edit the parts of the
interview. You got to keep that.
And Joe Jersey, he's supposed to, I guess he's just getting older. He don't want no prime. He did it already.
Same age.
Joe, you got to fight then.
No, you don't got to fight. You don't got to fight. You don't got to fight. You don't have to fight. You don't have to fight.
Watch your mouth.
But you do. All I want you to do is a media personality, somebody in that position.
Be consistent.
Be consistent. Yeah. Say the same thing that you're saying about them to them. You're not Joe. You're not going to sit here and tell me that you felt that way about them the next day, but not in that moment. You said they didn't dap you up. Quavo didn't dap you up or whatever. You said you thought they were arrogant asses. Say that to them.
In that jersey.
If you don't give a fuck about them, say that to them. Don't just drop the mic and walk off. Say it to them.
Real talk. You're 100% right. Be consistent. You don't have to fight, but then don't claim you're going to fight in the first place.
Boom.
Right? Because realistically speaking, beef is the easiest way to get on.
Absolutely.
I don't care if it's radio beef. I don't care if it's rap beef, whatever. Because people are drawn to violence. There's a reason why we watch World Star videos. There's a reason why there's so many shows that are about about, gangster movies, mafia, that kind of shit, because we're drawn to violence.
We watched that whole viral video of Joe and the Migos, and for me, there was no journalistic value in it whatsoever.
None.
It was just straight drama.
So here's the thing, and I believe this wholeheartedly, and we do this every single week on this podcast. We're not going out here taking shots at motherfuckers trying to start fights. When has there been an issue where we had a guest come in here? We've had guests that we disagree with on plenty of different things, but it's never some violent shit. We just have ideas. You create content. I literally look at as using beef to get on the same way as a girl taking her clothes off to get followers on Instagram. It's the easiest way to get followers. It's the easiest way to get attention. If you got real talent and you can really create, and I will be honest, say what you want about Joe. The dude is talented.
Oh, Joe!
He is very talented.
Joe, not only is Joe a great rapper, he's a great media personality.
Great, both of them. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, you don't need this nonsense.
Shit, nah, man. Listen, that shit is not cool. And I salute to my guy.
Say he started it. You say he ain't shaking the man's hand. He ain't.
But
all I'm saying is everybody be consistent and don't get rattled. Don't let these guests rattle you. You supposed to rattle the guests.
Bang.
How many times have you watched me give an interview and motherfuckers is uncomfortable, yelling, cursing, and I'm just sitting there still getting my shit off,
smiling.
That's it.
Let's go get some views.
What's up? What's up. Did you pull up on Rick Ross and Trick Daddy? Well, Fredro, don't get mad at me. You're the one who said it. And if you're really that aggressive, do you need 5 minutes?
Hey,
that's the other part of the video nobody wants to talk about.
You challenged one of the most frightening people in the world to a black man in America, and that is a blonde-haired white woman. Challenging Chanel West. There is nobody who has caused more
I really didn't know what to do.
harm, more fear.
You're right.
Wax can't step in. You have a blonde-haired white girl.
Blonde-haired white woman.
Listen,
absolutely right.
What Chanel should have said during that beef when you were talking about that, well, why is it backstage you wouldn't stop grabbing my pussy? I feel afraid. Once she starts saying that
white
shit.
People safe words.
Whoa.
White woman safe words.
Ooh, I would have shut you up. You would have been like, you know what, Chanel, you do have some bars.
All right.
I'd have got really.
Maybe your last song wasn't that bad.
I believe in your future, Chanel.
You're right. I got to get the fuck out of here, man.
All right, man. Let's wrap this shit up. Then.
Listen,
we're going to give you guys a short one today.
Yeah, but we're in London August 5th. Black Privilege Opportunity Comes to Those Who Created It is out right now. Go pick that up. Go to BrilliantIdiotSmerch.com and buy the clothes. And we'll see you next week.